All right, yo. So there's the damage. Not terrible. Just do a little preventive maintenance. What I ended up doing was I just got my little pry bar after I did those bolts. So I took out the whole backside and then started loosening these sides up. Took this one out, the whole backside. This one I loosened, and then I loosened a couple more around here. Nothing came out at that point. Once I started loosening the other side, oil started coming out, and man, when it comes out with force. There's no funnel for the oil to come out of, so it's all just going to try and follow that drip pan. It makes a huge mess. But as long as you do a little preventive maintenance and you get something that you can catch all that and funnel it into your oil catch pan, you'll be golden. All right, let's finish getting it out. All right, so by taking my time and letting that as much drain out as it could without taking the whole pan down, it helped out a ton. So I ended up taking out the rest of the bolts, obviously, and then I held one hand underneath the pan. I wish I would have got it on tape because it worked out freaking perfect. I'm proud of it. But I ended up holding one hand underneath the pan and then just kind of tilting that back corner down, that back corner, and use the corner of the pan as a funnel. Got to clean that magnet off. Holy crap. I don't think this pan's ever been down. It's a 2001 2500 with a Cummins in it, and it's got 217,000 miles. The trans started slipping, not slipping, it's trying to find going between first and second, and then you stop at a light and it wants to take off in second or third gear. Alright, so I'm going to do the pressure governor first. These two screw holes right here, they had T25 bolts in them. The filter also had two T25 bolts in them. So you'll need a T25 hex bit. But I'm going to do the pressure governor first, and we'll see how this goes. So I'm going to, obviously you got to disconnect the electric right here, the electric plug. And then these two, it looks like 7/16 bolts, got to come out. And then I'm going to take this whole block off. So I'm going to remove this one and this one as well. Because I was told that you can drill out the opposite side of that pressure governor. We'll see. Alright, so I got the pressure governor. I took the whole block off. I already started wiping it down. That right there, that's the pressure governor. The opposite end of it, that was chalked up with all that black stuff. I didn't even know it was supposed to be white underneath there. So I got that sensor. I'm not sure what this sensor is, but that came in the kit as well. So that's going to get replaced. The only thing I know about transmission stuff, guys, I am not a transmission mechanic by any means, but just make sure your work area is clean. I keep wiping my hands down. I got these gloves on, but I keep wiping these gloves down. The 4 bolts that came out of here, those 7/16, those are all the same size bolts. So you don't have to worry about getting them mixed up. All right, let's start taking this thing apart and see what happens. All right, so this bracket acts as a clip for both the pressure governor and this other sensor. When you lift this up, see how you got a fork there that goes over that black sensor, and then it's got a fork in here that holds onto the pressure governor. So that all lifts up as one piece, and it acts as a support bracket for both sensors. So real quick, what I'm going to do to this block, if I can get that back set in there. So see how that channel only allows one side of that pressure governor to be seen or used by the fluid? That pressure governor has a filter that goes all the way around this tip. Let me take that out. Okay, so there's the pressure governor. See how that filter goes all the way around? I've watched a bunch of other videos, and guys, what they're doing is they are drilling this out in here, so that filter can actually be used the whole way around. I'm gonna attempt it. All right, so I got that drilled out. It's an 11/16 bit. We'll make that big enough to where that whole filter is visible. And I just cleaned everything up. It's the only thing I know about working on transmissions is everything's got to be freaking clean. I just took an air nozzle and sprayed everything out real good and wiped everything down with a clean towel. Make sure you got plenty of towels to sacrifice before you start this job. It takes a bunch of them between wiping your hands and wiping parts and all that stuff. So, all right, I'm gonna dig in some more. Okay, so I'm moving on to the 3/4 accumulator spring. This is looking at, so that is the front of the motor, back of the motor. This is the plate that the accumulator spring is on. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts. They're the T25 hex bolts. I got a wiring harness going through this hook here. I'm gonna get that off, and I don't think there's anything really to it. We'll see here in a second. Okay, so the plate's off. Wasn't hard. There is oil in there, obviously, so just be aware of that. The only thing that came out was the spring and the sleeve that it fits in. So don't be alarmed when this thing falls out behind the spring, because that's what happened to me. And I was like, oh no. Simple enough. I'm gonna get the new one in. I didn't have to use a whole lot of torque getting those T25s out of there. I just used my nut driver, and they came out really good. They came out easy. So hopefully the same goes for y'all. Okay, so be careful when wiping this little guy down. These gaskets right here, see how that's split? This one is split somewhere as well. Just be mindful of that. They come split. That's how they get them on there. I don't know what they're made out of. They look like maybe like a hardened rubber or something, but just be mindful when you're wiping that down that you don't pull that out of there. I don't know what would happen. I guess you would have to get new ones or maybe even a new sleeve. I'm not sure, but like I said, if you wipe yours down, be mindful of those splits and that rubber. I don't think you want those coming off by any means. And another tip, guys, everything that I'm taking out of this thing, I'm comparing to make sure that everything looks like it's going to line right back up. It's just a good rule of thumb. It's a good practice to be in. I've been burned way too many times. Not so much on transmissions, but on just other stuff. Just assuming that stuff is the right size and the right part and all that, and end up getting burned. So it's kind of a pain in the butt to get into this transmission. So just take the extra minute and make sure everything lines up. Everything's freaking the same size. Everything looks the same. Like I said, just a good rule of thumb. Band adjustment time. So this is the rear band and the transmission. This one has to be done after obviously the pan and filter has been dropped. You can go ahead and put your solenoids on. I wasn't sure, so I just left them off. But this is a 15 millimeter nut, and this is a 1/4 inch hex head on there. This is a 15 millimeter nut, and this is a 1/4 inch hex head on there. So you loosen that 15 millimeter up, you torque that 1/4 inch down to they're saying 72 inch-pounds, 8.5 foot-pounds, or snug. If you don't have a torque wrench that goes that low, which I do not, it said just snug them up really good with your hand. Not too tight, so don't overdrive that thing in there. So we'll see how it goes. That literally went super easy. Again, that's a 15 millimeter nut, and then the 1/4 inch hex head, 6-point. I just used the nut driver, so I undid this screw and I screwed it back, I don't know, a dozen turns or so. And then I took my 1/4 inch hex head, I put it on that on a nut driver, and I just hand tightened it. You'll be able to feel it. It'll be real loose, it'll drive down, and then once you feel like it's restricting a little bit, like it's giving you some pressure back, I just went just a little bit more. So you don't want to overdo it. And then reverse that out 3 turns exactly, and then tighten down your 15 millimeter nut. It seriously went super easy. Okay, so that's the little upgrade that I was talking about with the pressure governor. You can now see, can't really see it really good in the video, but you can now see the filter all the way around, to where before there was just an inlet right here that was only allowing fluid to get right there. The rest of it was blocked off. I watched a bunch of other videos and other guys are doing this. The other upgrade is there's a BDGM BDGM pressure regulator or pressure governor block that you can buy. I think it's like $300. If you just Google it, it'll come right up for the 47RE. But hopefully this works a little better. We'll see. I'm not sure what it's supposed to do, but it's an upgrade that a lot of people are doing. I used a step bit. That was 11/16 to get it that big. You can go a little bit bigger, I think, if you want. Using the step bit, it made me nervous though, because there are gaskets on the inside of this that have to seat very good. So just be careful and take your time. All right, so the solenoids are back in, blocks in, everything went back together just as easily as it came apart. With the T25 screws in the filter, I ran them both in and got up, got a drink of Powerade, came back down, and they needed to be tightened up again. So I just hand tighten them. I'm going to give them a couple more minutes and hand tighten them again, check them, just make sure that they stayed tight. Other than that, everything went together very well. So this is another sensor that comes in that pack of 3. You got the pressure governor, and then that other black plastic sensor that was next to the pressure governor, and then that sensor is right there. It's a 1-inch. I just used a 1-inch wrench. They're not in there tight at all, so a 1-inch wrench, screw it out of there, and then put the new one back in. And I just used the 1-inch wrench to put it back in with. Again, I didn't tighten it down, I didn't go crazy. So transpan's all cleaned up. I would suggest putting the plug in. I ordered it off of Amazon, just a universal drain plug. Those nuts are 3/4 inch, and then this nut. This is a screw that comes out with a rubber gasket on it. That's a 1/2 inch. The hole itself was a 1/2 inch hole, and I put it right next to, I cleaned the magnet all up, right next to the little nipple that the magnet goes on. It looks like that was the best place to put it by looking underneath the transmission, but all right, ready to reassemble. So if you buy the filter kit for a 47RE, it'll come with 2 different gaskets. Obviously, just make sure you got the right one. But there are 4 holes. These holes, they drill a lot smaller, or make a lot smaller in the gasket. That way your bolt can stay in there and it holds the gasket in place. It's pretty cool. Otherwise, it would be a huge pain in the butt because these gaskets literally just come all balled up. Transpan is in, all torqued down. The torque spec called for 156 inch-pounds. I looked it up, and it calls for 13 foot-pounds of torque. It's all torqued down. It says to torque them in like a crisscross, kind of like you do like your lug nuts or anything that's got a gasket on it. So I just ran the bolts down hand tight and then torqued them in a crisscross. When I run them down hand tight, I go in order in sequence. I go all the way around to get that gasket to set flat, and then when I torque them down, then I go crisscross. Okay, last but not least was adjusting the front band. That's this nut right here. I don't know if I can get a good picture of that up there or not. It's a 19 millimeter or 3/4 inch. So you'll need a box and wrench for that, and then a T40 hex bit, or star bit, whatever you want to call it. Same deal as the one on the inside, the rear band. Loosen that nut up, drive that center bolt in, the T40, drive that in all the way until it won't go anymore. Don't over tighten it. You'll feel it, it'll get really snug. maybe go just a smidge more, and then stop with that. And after that, after you get that tight, I just used a nut driver to tighten mine on. No socket or nothing like that. It was just a nut driver. You back it out 2.5 turns, and then you run that nut back on with your 19 millimeter or 3/4. Watch how that, I left my nut driver on so I could watch the handle, so I could see where it was turning. Mine's a Craftsman, so I just watched the name Craftsman on the side of the handle. If it started turning a little bit, then I'd readjust it. You got to be a contortionist to get in there. There's not a lot of room, but we got it done. It's tight. Everything's good. Just pay close attention to where the nut driver handle's at when you're tightening that nut on. Keep it at 2.5. That was the last of the tune-up for the transmission for 47RE. Like I said, the pan's on. We did those solenoids in there. We did this plastic sensor, and then I put that drain plug in. I think I'm going to thank myself later on so I don't make such a mess, which honestly, I was very fortunate and didn't make a huge mess. You just got to take your time, kind of pay attention to what you're doing, do it slow. All right, hope this helps somebody. Y'all have fun. Thanks for watching.